About a year back, something wild happened on Mars. Its magnetic shield and air around it expanded to about 3 times the usual size. Earth has experienced this ballooning before too. In 1999, it caused our magnetosphere to expand up to 100 times its usual size. And scientists are saying that Earth might experience it again soon, but on an even larger scale. The consequences of that could be catastrophic. Let's see why it happens and what might happen to us if that repeats. NASA's MAVEN orbiter has been orbiting Mars since 2014. It's the only spacecraft we have that keeps track of both the Sun and Mars. In 2022, on December 26th, it witnessed a fascinating show on the red planet. Mars' atmosphere and magnetic shield suddenly stretched out by thousands of miles. According to scientists, it's a unique, unbelievably dramatic event, and MAVEN was there to catch it all. Scientists tried to uncover this mystery. Digging into the event, they discovered something incredible. It turns out this air show was linked to the solar winds. Solar wind is the stream of particles coming from the sun. It's a constant flow of protons and electrons from our star's outer atmosphere, moving super fast, up to 500 miles per second. These charged particles travel through the solar system in a plasma state. Mars, like all other planets in our solar system, is always dealing with solar wind. Think of it like a breeze from the sun. This wind pushes on Mars' magnetic shield, called magnetosphere, and is part of why Mars loses some of its atmosphere into space. Researchers found out that the weird expansion on Mars happened because there was a rare void in it. Faster solar wind caught up with slower solar wind, making them squeeze together. This created a gap in part of Mars' atmosphere because some solar wind was missing. This unusual situation caused Mars' magnetosphere to expand so rapidly, the sun goes through a cycle about every 11 years. It jumps from low activity, or solar minimum, to high activity, or solar maximum. Then it jumps back. We noticed this way back in the 18th century, and we're currently on the 25th cycle. It's all because of the sun's magnetic field. During solar minimum, the magnetic field is strong and organized, but over time, it weakens. Suddenly, solar activity jumps up. This creates solar winds, the sun spewing jets of particles on the planets, including our Earth. In 1999, the solar wind nearly disappeared for 3 days. It will probably repeat again now. This time around, scientists believe it might hit us sooner and harder than expected. The sun becomes quite lively, emitting fiery plasma, developing large dark spots, and releasing powerful radiation. And, unfortunately, the upcoming solar maximum kind of caught us off guard. The storm was predicted for 2025, so scientists aren't very prepared. The number of sunspots observed has been way higher than anticipated. The sun hit an 8-year sunspot peak in 2022, and then showed more than double the expected sunspots in 2023. It's not just them. Many solar flares have also been on the rise. In March, the geomagnetic storm lit up the skies with vibrant auroras across 30 U.S. states. It was the strongest storm in over 6 years. Many rare solar events have become more common recently. For example, a gigantic plasma waterfall, a polar vortex swirling around the sun's north pole for hours, and a 3-day solar tornado towering over 14 Earths. Because of all that, Earth faces some risks. Solar storms could hit our planet, it can mess with communications, NASA damage power systems and cause blackouts, and even pose threats to living beings. They can ionize Earth's atmosphere. This would mess with radio signals and GPS systems. Major disasters like earthquakes or tsunamis combined with such blackouts could lead to catastrophic outcomes. Additionally, strong solar storms may generate electrical currents that can damage infrastructure, including power grids and rail lines. Airplane passengers might experience higher radiation levels during solar storms. It's hard to tell what that would mean for their health. However, astronauts on spacecraft such as the International Space Station could face more significant risks. Future space missions will have to take solar cycles into account. We're not the only creatures in danger. These storms can disrupt the migration patterns of animals like gray whales, sea turtles, and birds. All these poor animals rely on Earth's magnetic field to understand what's going on, and as a cherry on top, there is a risk of satellite collisions. Commercial space companies are focused on launching satellites quickly rather than safely. Because of that, they often overlook the impact of space weather. During solar storms, the ionized upper atmosphere increases drag on Earth-orbiting satellites. If something goes wrong, satellites can be forced out of orbit and collide with us. The scariest solar storm that has ever happened to us was the Carrington event. In 1859, Earth experienced the most intense geomagnetic storm ever recorded. The sky lit up with vibrant auroras. They were visible from the North and South Poles to places like Cuba and Japan. The display was so bright in the United States that gold miners woke up thinking it was morning. It was caused by a massive solar flare. The auroras were breathtaking, but the impact was more than visual. It disrupted telegraph systems across Europe and North America. Telegraph pylons were through sparks. Operators got electric shocks, and conversations were conducted using the auroral current instead of batteries. Similar storms occurred at least 3 times throughout history, with the same awful consequences. Scientists estimate the cost of such an event today could range from $600 billion to $6 trillion in the US alone. Researchers continue to study historical events and ice core data to understand and prepare for the potential impacts of future solar storms. The sun's behavior is very unpredictable. Well, this just shows that we need to study it in greater depth. The chance that this new coming storm will be the same as a superstorm like the Carrington event is low. Besides, if we spend this time preparing, it might go unnoticed. Preparation usually involves adjusting satellite trajectories, grounding planes, and identifying vulnerable infrastructure. Meanwhile, we keep exploring Mars. Its atmosphere is different from ours. Our atmosphere has breathable air, mostly consisting of nitrogen, oxygen, and a lot of other gases. Meanwhile, Mars has incredibly high CO2 levels. If on Earth, carbon dioxide doesn't even reach 1%, on Mars, it makes up about 90% of its atmosphere. Also, Earth's atmosphere is over 100 times denser than the one on Mars. Even though Mars is about half the size of Earth, its atmosphere is like a feather compared to our air. A long time ago, Mars could have been kind of Earth-like. We know that it definitely had water, and perhaps there were even some plants. If we added water on Mars now, plants could have grown up there. A long time ago, Mars was experiencing some serious volcanism, suggesting it had a thick atmosphere and maybe even a giant ocean. We're not sure what happened to them, but there are some theories. Like, for example, Mars has a magnetic field, but it's very weak, so solar winds could have stripped away its atmosphere. In the end, it's still there. It became the chilly, dusty, red planet we know today. NASA's Perseverance rover celebrated its 1,000th day on the red planet with some amazing discoveries. The rover cruised through an ancient Martian river and lake system. It gathered 23 precious samples along the way. All of these samples will help us to unlock Mars history and geological mysteries. Extreme events and conditions are horrifying, but great in a way that they help us to learn more about our solar system. Luckily, Maven was designed to be sturdy and prepared even for intense solar storms. So now we can find out more about Mars when it's stripped of its protectiveness. Please like and share so everyone knows. Thank you for watching. If you want to know more, stay with Hidden to continue.